Buying a home is typically one of the biggest financial purchases you'll make in your life, and because of that, there's a lot of risk involved. Today's video is on the dangers of buying a home in Atlanta. We're going to talk about the main things that you need to look out for and how to avoid losing big on your home purchase. Coming up right now. Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about the dangers of buying a home in Atlanta. I work with a lot of clients who are relocating here from another state, and obviously there can be a lot of anxiety and unknowns with making a large financial transaction in a state that you don't even live in. So I thought of 6 items here that cause the most heartache, whether that's financial or stress, just the biggest ways that I've seen things go wrong in real estate transactions in the Atlanta area so that you can be aware of them, prepare for them, and do your best to avoid them becoming a factor in your life. Now, listen, the good news is don't freak out, okay? Generally speaking, purchasing a home in Georgia in the Atlanta area is a pretty streamlined process that happens in a very similar way over and over again. And especially when you work with a good realtor, it's not difficult to avoid all the major topics we're going to talk about today. So this is not meant to freak you out or scare you. This is simply meant to educate you so you understand how important it is to work with the right people and what to look out for during your time purchasing. So let's get right into it. The 6 biggest dangers of buying a home in Atlanta. Hey, real quick, if you are looking to purchase or sell a home in the Atlanta area, I am a local realtor with a lot of experience in this area, and I love when my viewers become clients. As you can tell from my videos, I know this area better than any local realtor, and if you look at my Google business page, I have over 50 5-star reviews. So again, if you are looking to purchase or sell a home anywhere in the metro Atlanta area and you need an excellent realtor with a lot of experience, I would love to hear from you. You can book a Zoom call with me using the link in the description below. Call me, email me, all my information's in the description. I would love to hear from you. I love when my viewers become clients. All right, so the number one way that I've seen things go really wrong in real estate transactions is when you hire the wrong realtor. Now, I know that sounds like a plug, but seriously, regardless of who you work with in any state that you're looking, this is a crucial decision that you're going to make. And there's 2 big reasons why a realtor can potentially give you a great experience or leave you with a very bad taste in your mouth. Number one, they control the timelines to protect your earnest money. So when you submit an offer on a home, you're going to put down typically 1% of the purchase price in earnest money, and you are going to have some timelines. You're going to have a due diligence timeline where you inspect the home and ask for some things to be repaired and terminate if you can't agree and get your earnest money back. You're going to have a financing timeline where you can get approved or denied for a loan. You're going to have an appraisal timeline where you bank orders an appraisal, you make sure it comes in at value, you negotiate if it doesn't. All along that way, you have opportunities to terminate if you can't agree with the seller. However, if your realtor is not ordering an inspection on time, making sure the lender orders the appraisal on a rush, if they're generally not paying attention to the timelines, like when your due diligence ends, when your last day of your appraisal contingency ends, you could potentially be stuck with the house the way that it is, whether that's not getting the repair that you wanted or purchasing it more than it appraised for, and you have no opportunity at that point to terminate. And if you did have to cancel, you would lose your earnest money. So the realtor has to be a very organized person. They have to control all the timelines and the moving pieces to make sure you get your proper due diligence finished within the time that you agreed upon with the seller. Now, the other big thing that you have to look out for in hiring the right realtor is that this person is going to give you all kind of referrals. They're probably going to refer you to your lender. They might refer you to a contractor. If something comes up during the inspection, they're probably going to be finding the foundation person or the roof person to come and look at the home and give you an opinion. If those are bad referrals, obviously that could put you in a precarious spot. So the bottom line is you are relying on the realtor for a lot of things to go right. You're relying on them to be organized and on top of their game with the timelines to make sure that under no circumstances you lose earnest money, and they need to have great referrals of other vendors for you to work with to give you a great experience as well. So don't take this decision lightly. And the thing I say about realtors is it doesn't matter if they're old or young or where they're from or whatever. The main thing really is experience, because, when you have experience in real estate, you've seen the situation before and you can give guidance to a client. Unfortunately, we were all brand new agents once, but if you're working with a brand new agent, you get in a kind of a tricky situation. They don't have experience to rely on to tell you what to do. So, of all the factors that you're looking for in a real estate agent, you want someone who's friendly, you want someone who's, whatever criteria you have, make sure they've got experience, they've got reps, because that experience is going to save you a lot of money. So make sure you make a great decision when hiring a realtor. All right, the second danger to look out for in buying a home in the Atlanta area is title issues, okay? This is where I've seen some really funky stuff, and title issues are not quick fixes, and they can be very expensive. Now, this always confused me a little bit, because you go under contract, you send the contract to the attorney works with the title company to make sure that the title is clear of any liens or encumbrances. So you would think logically, liens and encumbrances aren't going to really come up, because, whenever it was last bought or sold, it went through a title company and it got cleared. But that's actually not the case. Attorneys and title companies can make mistakes, and those mistakes can cost you a lot of money. So the first lesson here is just use a reputable attorney. This goes back to having a realtor who's got a lot of experience, okay? Because they're going to probably recommend, especially on the buy side, which attorney that you use. So have that discussion with your realtor. Make sure it's a reputable attorney with a proven track record in the area that you're buying. The next piece of this is you have to purchase title insurance. I've had some clients, for whatever reason, ask if they could skip it. They want to save money. They don't think it's necessary. It is the most necessary thing throughout the whole process. First of all, it's not that expensive. And second of all, you never know when something can come up with some kind of lien or encumbrance or some snafu in the chain of title. And that can be a very expensive, drawn out legal battle. So you really do need insurance, just because you never know what's going to pop up. So the two things you need to know about avoiding a major title issue is hire a reputable attorney and make sure you purchase title insurance. All right, the number 3 biggest danger that I've seen in purchasing a home in the Atlanta area is new construction. Now, listen, again, there's no reason any of this stuff has to go wrong. I'm just telling you what I've seen, something to be aware of. I'm not dissuading you from purchasing new construction. You just need to be aware that new construction communities, builders, use their own contracts. They don't typically use the standard Georgia Association of Realtor forms, which all that means is they can put stuff in there that if your realtor is not looking out for, if you're not paying attention to, you really need to know what you're signing up for. And for many builders, you're giving them a lot of leeway to be delayed because of materials, to increase the cost because of the cost of materials. Okay, they build out those new construction contracts, giving them a lot of leeway if something goes wrong. For instance, most new construction communities are going to have in the contract giving them a time up to 2 years of when you put down your lot deposit for them to actually finish. Now, it's almost never going to take them that long. They're obviously very incentivized to complete the community and complete their sales as quickly as possible and move on to their next job site. But you just need to know what you're getting into and be prepared mentally for it. So really going through that contract with a fine-tooth comb and having a realtor who knows the reputable builders and the non-reputable builders, and who can look at that contract for anything that you need to be aware of, something that's out of the ordinary, and just wave the red flag for you if necessary. So again, because new construction communities use their own contracts, I have seen people get burned, whether they're just having to wait for a way longer period of time than they thought to be able to move in, or whether there was some confusion on the finishes that they were purchasing, because you walk in the model home on a job site that has all the upgrades. So your home, if you don't add those upgrades, is going to look very different. So I have seen some people have some less than ideal experiences in new construction because they didn't know exactly what they were getting into. All right, number 4 on the list is your major systems. In particular, the things that cost a lot of money: your foundation, roof, plumbing, and electrical. This is where, if you don't hire a great inspection company with a lot of experience and get the seller to address any big item before you move in, you could potentially have a money pit. You could at least have an item that costs $10,000 or more. So the main lesson with this item, and again, this should not be an issue assuming you have a competent realtor connecting you with great vendors, is hire a great inspection company. And if the inspectors find something they recommend you reach out to an expert for, find a great vendor as well. So if the inspector sees something with the foundation that they think you should take a look at, make sure your realtor has a great recommendation for a reliable foundation company that's not just going to jack up the price and kill the deal, but that's really going to tell you how serious it is and what it costs to repair. Now, a lot of my clients can get freaked out when they first see an inspection report. Listen, you're not concerned about the volume of items on an inspection report. You're concerned about the dollar value that those items represent. So you can have an inspection report that's 50 pages long. If it's all GFCI outlets and switch plate covers, okay, that stuff costs $1 to $5 to repair. Very low ticket items. Of course, if you need a new roof, that could be $10,000 to $15,000 to $20,000. If you have a major foundation issue, that could be anywhere from $5,000 to $50,000, depending on what remediation looks like. So all that being said, you need to understand the dollar value associated with the major items that come up on an inspection report, and you need to have great vendors in place to really help you understand how serious the issue is and what is a legitimate cost for fixing it. Because you get all kinds of companies. When you get an inspection report and you're looking at all these different major systems of a house, you are kind of at the whim of the vendors that you reach out to. You're at the whim of them giving you an honest assessment for an honest price. Okay, you don't want them to just throw out a crazy price out there when it wasn't that big of an issue and the deal ends up falling apart because of that. You also don't want them to underplay something that comes back to bite you in the butt. So again, it really comes back to quality vendors giving you expert advice and you basing your decisions off that and off what the seller does. But all that being said, major systems are obviously something you need to keep a strong eye on because they could represent a lot of money for you in the future. All right, number 5 on the list is area regret. Now this one is way less common, especially with me, just because I spend so much time with my clients discussing the area. I really encourage them to come into town, spend some time in the areas that we're looking at. We do videos of the area. So we provide our clients with as much information to make that great decision as possible. But listen, if you're moving here and you've never spent time in Atlanta, you're not familiar with it, there is a little bit of a risk. And not that you'll be in a dangerous area or an area that's just like a complete hellhole, but just maybe the vibe is a little off. Maybe it doesn't have some of the things that were most important to you. Maybe it doesn't have the walkability you were looking for, the atmosphere, the diversity. It could be any number of things that kind of give you a little bit of regret after living there for a few months. So the main way that you prevent this from happening if you're not familiar with the Atlanta area or whatever area that you're moving to is do a discovery trip. Okay, spend a weekend. It doesn't have to be a week. Friday through Sunday, maybe rent a car, stay in the area of town that you think you're going to be liking and drive around these areas. See the amenities, see the strip centers and the parks and some of the higher end shopping and retail, the restaurants, see the traffic patterns, see the architecture, drive through the subdivisions, take some notes for yourself. This is going to go a long way when you're back in another state and you're looking at a home in a certain neighborhood. You say, oh, I did drive through that neighborhood. I feel okay with it. Or no, I hated that neighborhood. Let's look somewhere else. So that is money well spent. And I actually recommend 2 trips. In most of my videos, you've probably heard me say this before, a discovery trip to learn the neighborhoods and then a due diligence trip. Okay. It's not realistic that you're going to come into town from out of state and do showings and get something under contract while you're here. That has happened before, but it's very rare. There's a lot of competition. And so it's way more likely that you're going to be back home doing virtual tours, get something under contract, and then come into town during your due diligence period. Okay, because you'll have 7 to 10 days where you can terminate if you hate the place. You'll get your earnest money back. So during that time, come into town, look at the house in person, make sure it's what you like, you feel good about it, and then that eliminates basically 99.9% of the potential for regret. Your discovery trip and your due diligence trip. So especially if you're at a state, that's hugely important. Obviously, if you're already in the Atlanta metro area, this isn't really going to be as much of a factor for you. All right, and the sixth and final danger of buying a house in the Atlanta area is working with a great lender. Now, the danger here is similar to the danger in working with a great or not so great realtor. If you happen to have a lender that is not strong with communication, that does not really understand your situation fully. The biggest snafu I see here is lenders telling people they're qualified. They go through the sales process, they put down earnest money, and then they get denied for a loan for something that really should have been discovered way earlier in the process, right? As a person, as a consumer, you're just going based off what the lender tells you and you believe them. But if they did not really seek to understand your situation fully, if there's a variable in your situation, like you're still waiting on an offer letter or the type of community, if they'll approve your type of loan, there's a lot of variables when it goes into lending. And a good lender is going to ask all the questions necessary right from the start to give you a very legitimate idea if you're going to be approved for your loan or not. Now, if you don't give them all the information, if they find out about something they didn't know beforehand, that's not their fault. But all that being said, a great lender is going to get all the details and information to save everyone's time, right? To save the buyer's time and spending money on an inspection, to save the realtor's time, to save the seller's time. A lender really should be on top of the situation with a crystal clear idea of what needs to happen to get that person approved. And unfortunately, lenders don't always pay attention to timelines. Now, as a realtor, I'm also looking at the lender's timelines. Like, I'm not waiting around for the lender to tell me they got the inspection back before the appraisal contingency. I'm on top of them like, hey, when are we getting it back? When are we getting it back? But if you get a lackadaisical lender and they don't get the appraisal back in time, now you're running into a situation where you don't even have the option to terminate because you don't have the appraisal back in time. It comes in low and you're stuck making up the difference or terminating and losing your earnest money. So again, just like you need a realtor who's on it with the timelines and protecting your money, you need a lender who's on it, who's aware of all the timelines, who is going to save you from losing your earnest money as well. And that lender recommendation typically comes from the realtor, but sometimes the realtor recommendation comes from the lender. So just make sure whomever you start with, they've got a lot of experience and a great reputation. So there you have it, the 6 most common dangers that I see as a realtor when people buy homes in the Atlanta area. Now, this is not to freak you out. This stuff is pretty rare. If you're working with a great team, none of this stuff should become a factor, and you shouldn't be worrying about this stuff, okay? If you find yourself over worrying about any of these items, it probably means your realtor's not doing a great job. Your realtor should be preemptively educating you about all this stuff and, keeping you in the loop, but really they should be taking on all the work and the stress that goes along with making sure you make a great financial decision. So just some things to look out for, just some things to add to your education as you go through this process buying in the Atlanta area. I hope that was helpful. I'm always looking for title ideas and subject ideas. If there's something I haven't covered that you'd like to see me talk about, please comment below. Please like, subscribe, follow me on TikTok and Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and until my next video, I'll see you next time.